We have just finished looking at almost 100 different products. We have one winner, 3 shortlists, and 10 mentions. And we're now going to talk about what we learned.
I know for myself, I'm happy to see that the container and library applications are continuing, where you have multiple pieces of video, audio, in some simple ebook format and some simple games as a library for parents and children to subscribe to and then keep going back to. And I always enjoy seeing the inspirational apps that take storytelling out into another way and form, and they sit almost between storytelling and gaming. And I know, Lucas, you were here, you lecture and teach on that.
We need to talk more between different kinds of...
Form more bridges.
Yeah, more bridges between different industries, with different cultures.
So speaking of bridges...
The Wanderer Frankenstein creature is a wonderful example of how you can take a classic and bring it from paper onto screen. And I think it's a narrative that is both beautifully illustrated and it's interactive. So I think what we can hope from examples like this one is that kids or young adults discover a classic story like Frankenstein's and discover the book after that. So they can discover it on screen, but then they can go back to reading on paper.
Close to that, you've got something that instead of taking fiction, it's taken a non-fiction and in fact a very topical environmental subject with the paperbark.
There is a wombat who lives under a paperbark tree.
And taking something, we're all increasingly worried about environmental issues, and to see someone taking that sort of subject and turning it into something that can be done beautifully in a similar way to a story like Frankenstein, within our top 4, as it were, we've got that sitting alongside a highly educational learning experience that's all about learning and understanding vocabulary, and that really pushing out the value of what you can, you need to acquire a strong language, not just being able to spell. As you get older, you need to understand language, you need to develop your vocabulary, and I think that PUKU does that. So we've got a really nice mix of things that are really important in a publishing context, and yet very, very different. And then obviously you've got the Pango Music March, which is so totally different again.
So all together, and you have to feel, now I'm doing that. Yes. But what the app pretends to achieve, it achieves.
It's much more playful, it's a toy effectively, but it also is, again, the other thing that the publishing industry needs and that kids need is to learn to be creative, and it is the ability for them to play around with something in a very creative musical context.
You could even see music march projected on a large wall, just for some marching around and even imitating. It's that great visual inspiration to do something physical.
In Tongo also, being around good music is something that we should also take into account. I mean, and it's not teaching you music, you're just surrounded by good music.
A few other things bubbled up. One was the school collections. Super Simple was another collection of videos, stories, and really nice interface that actually is super simple.
And the MarcoPolo World School.
Yeah, MarcoPolo is another one, and these are subscription based. And then the thing that I was very excited about this year was the sort of breakthrough, the Oculus Quest, which is a standalone VR system that's less than $500, that has a pretty nice app library, and we had 2 entries, the Anne Frank House VR and the National Geographic Explorer. Why didn't they win?
For me, it's because we are not there. I have the feeling that even though it is kind of awesome having the feeling of kayaking, and I love kayaking, so I can compare the actual experience from the pretend one. But it is quite like a prototype of experience, or
It's
not the
for me-
experience
for me,
itself.
it's just very distant and very internal, and it because you're covering everything. Even though you're immersed in space, you're almost forced to be there, and it encroaches on so many things in terms of experiencing.
I think it's coming, and I think it's moving really fast. And I think in a different context, if we were looking at the most immersive experience, or we were looking at this from a particular different angle, then that VR it really is coming along now, and I think it's exciting. And I really, particularly that National Geographic title, I think is really powerful. But in the context of publishing, I don't think it's quite got to the point where this is what we need to be telling the publishing industry.
I like related to AR, we have VR. I like the fact that we've seen some work again returning from a mainstream publisher. I like the Star Wars book and the depth of extras in there. I think AR is still evolving. There's something missing to this holding in front of a book. To me, still.
Yeah. So since last year, significantly fewer AR entries.
The one that I think for me is exciting in this AR space was the AR Makr, because of its ability to be creative, and I think I can see that
It
again
flips the whole thing upside
as a
down.
storytelling tool to get kids to understand what AR can give you. And I think anyone working in a space where you're trying to encourage a love of stories, that has a place.
Another one that we didn't mention that's on our mentions list of 10 was Outbreak Squad. It was extremely topical this year.
For me, it's interesting because it basically is a serious game. It's able to talk about complex things like the health system. You understand that you need to take care of those 4 things: the public system, the education, the research, and the in-field action.
As we had some old friends come back from previous years. One was the Barefoot World Atlas that we originally saw developed by Touch Press. It's bubbled back because it was upgraded. And
it's hugely improved, and I always loved it when it came out in 2012, and now it's outstanding and up to date.
Again, in publishing, if you want to take part in that, a recommendation to publishers would be to have a look at this. They are a book publisher too, but this is it's a great format and a great way to put lots of information out.
Another in a series of very familiar kinds of puzzles called Think Roll Space, and that was new this year, so it's definitely worth being on the short list. But it's nice to see some publishers still in the game, making paid apps that are ethical. There's no gimmicks, no registrations, just kind of you buy it once, you own it for life. Another one we looked at was Animal Librium, Noah's Ark.
It's like a toy.
Which is a lovely idea. I mean, its downside, some of the UX issues was significant, but it's the kind of thing. It's nice to mention that it's possible for people to get to that point.
Well, I leave this year feeling optimistic that we were able to find good music, good art, good quality stuff for a fair price in the digital space. So it is there. It was really fun to go through this process with you. I hope you enjoyed the journey as much as I did.
Thank you, Warren.
Thank you.
Yeah.